Welcome back to the channel. All right, it's time to cover Deathless She-Hulk. She's awesome. She is awesome. By now, you hopefully know that she can ramp up, do some crazy things, but I think you might be pretty happy with what she can do in short and medium range fights too. All of this while controlling fights. Let's go ahead and jump into this. We're going to start this off. This is on the CCP server, just for your own knowledge. I do have a rank 3 She-Hulk on my live account. I really like her that much, and I'm getting prepared to do those deathless runs and things like that. So what's so great about her? Why do people like her that much, right? She can obviously ramp up, do a lot of damage, but you're seeing it right here. I want you to see in every single one of these fights, and these weren't like edited out. I didn't have to do a ton of takes. In fact, this video is going to be relatively quick because she is direct and to the point, and because I didn't have to do a bunch of takes to get this for you. What is happening here is think of it almost like a taunt, but it's not. For each of the traumas on there, it's increasing the chance for the opponent to their specials by 8%. Now, the traumas are doing a lot of other things, and we will talk about that, but you're going to consistently see, and this is one of the biggest things I want you to take away from this, is how much control she gets over a fight. Now, you're going to have to evade those specials. You're going to have to deal with them, but that means they're not going to go into that special 3. You want that quicker pace. It's going to be happening. She is creating it. She is making it happen. And then also it's playing into her play style perfectly. That was that rank 3 simulation, like a battleground simulation, 45 seconds, non-class advantage, Hyperion. Now, we're going to use this 1.1 million. Don't worry, it's not going to take that long to explain everything you need to know about playing her. And then we're going to show a couple more like utility fights, bonkers, like short form stuff. And then let's just get to it. You sit there, we'll listen, we're going to talk about this. So I'm going to use this fight, and this fight actually could go much quicker, but I wanted to use this fight to show you, talk to you about how to play her. You saw me land the heavy, and you see that fear debuff in the upper right hand corner. It looks like a kind of like an angry but somehow kind of cute, like anime sort of face in the upper right hand corner. That's fear. That's reducing the ability accuracy of unblockable effects by 100%. So if they have increased ability accuracy, something like that, still a chance it could happen, but hey, I'll take it, right? And then also, when she has that debuff up, she cannot miss, just flat out can't miss, not ability accuracy, anything like that. So the only negative there is if a champion purifies it, but this is a science champion, typically not using them against skill champions unless their name is Titania anyways. The other thing that's happening here is we're just landing our hits. You see me just landing combos. Every hit has I believe it starts at a 40% chance to inflict a trauma, right? A trauma debuff. That's what's happening. Those are stacking. Every single time the opponent, non-skill champions, throw a special like Hype just did, you're seeing the traumas refresh. So that is how they are growing significantly. Now, all those traumas are creating a burst of physical damage based on the damage that you hit, which is why you're seeing when we crit, those red numbers get huge because it's based on the hit damage itself. And those damage numbers get massive. I'm going to pause it here because you're going to see a medium crit. It's going to do crazy numbers. Now, the other thing is, because they are refreshing, they being the opponent are actually refreshing these trauma debuffs on themselves. You see Hyperion just constantly being happy to do this. The damage constantly is building up. Now, I did throw the SP3 in this one. Honestly, at a 1,000,000 health pool, I did not need to. You can see we have total control over this fight. But I did do it because I wanted to talk to you about the special 3 is a 20% debilitate. You can actually get 2 of those. You can throw 2 special 3s and get 2 of them. That's increasing the length of your debuffs. In case you're having trouble getting the opponent to throw their specials, maybe there's some things interrupting the flow of the fight or something like that. And then that's going to re-inflict all traumas and also inflict a 30% weakness. Hey, it's there. I'm not going to be upset about it. Right? And then the other special you're seeing me use a lot in this fight was the special 2. There is the pause. You see the large red numbers. That is that trauma coming in, that physical damage. We're getting 24,219 off of a crit that was for only just under 7,000. So you can see how big those numbers get, how much that's multiplying, and we've only got 20 traumas up, which I know sounds like a lot, but when you consider how long this fight took and that this is only a 1,000,000 health pool and people are using her in Necropolis, you're kind of getting a sense of like how big this can ramp, but how good she is on the way there too, right? And then the other thing you're seeing is those withers up. Those are coming from the special 2. You're going to inflict 2 of those, right? Or I'm sorry, inflicts 2 traumas, and then each hit a special 2 inflicts a 55% wither for 22 seconds. I know some of you, I know when I first started, it's like, wait a minute, I want more than that. I'm used to my Spider-Man 2099. Give me more. And then the designer did write in the spotlight, like, look, you actually want the opponent throwing special. So if this was like an America Chavez situation where they're not gaining any power at all, you would actually have problems, because remember, you want them to throw special so that they will refresh the traumas so you can keep beating the heck out of them and get those numbers going and going and going. She's a ramp champion who can also destroy stuff. Just so you can see, this was, I'm not going to go back to it, but this is basically it's not basically the destroyer. This is the destroyer with a battleground size health pool. So this is rank 3 versus rank 3. Now, you know me, I don't hide the ball. Haven't said that phrase in a while. I know a lot of you like to comment on that one. I've purposely kept that one. I thought this is the right time for it, because I'm literally not on this one, or figuratively not. Destroyer does have negative physical resistance. So, which is a good time to talk about. If they're net neutral on physical resistance, She-Hulk's going to be very good still against them. If they have negative physical resistance, which is actually more common in the game than I realized, but in doing this testing, I started to find it more and more and more. You can see how crazy and bonkers she is. She's like even more bonkers, whatever that is. Bonkers with a capital B. You saw how quickly she destroyed that destroyer. Did not mean that one. And then if they have positive physical resistance, it's going to slow her down significantly, right? Because that multiplier that's coming in for those debilitate, or not the debilitates, but the trauma, gonna like fall off and hurt you quite a bit. Now, I did want to show you this too. Remember that you cannot miss with the fear debuff up, so we do not need to worry about Spidey Supreme at all. Pretty tricky defender. Usually you want a buff immune champion, but you know, She-Hulk, she's handling this for you. So there's some pretty good utility here. So I think I like the switching off of unblockables. I like that, right? You want to get that up beforehand. And then also you can like interrupt with your heavies. There's some nice wording in there on the abilities. But for me, I'm going to want that up early if I'm scared that that's going to happen. Then also just being able to flat out handle miss. That's a big deal. It's in this game more and more and more. And then you see champions like this just get absolutely decimated while she's handling power, while she's controlling the fight, similar to Spider-Punk. I just, the control that's coming off this champion, I really wanted to show you how good that control is. Now, she's obviously good in questing, right? Like by the time you've seen this video, you're probably aware of how good she has been in Necropolis and those sorts of things. I used her against that AOA Heimdall. That fight looked like it was going to be a pain, and she actually made it relatively simple, or simplified what was simple, able to be made simplified by the champions, right? We still had to do all that dexing and with the root. But I think she's really going to also shine in Alliance War. And just coincidentally, literally minutes ago, I was able to do this fight and get it in here for this video, so I was happy to do that. This is the Alliance War showcase. This personal, whatever, all this stuff, it doesn't really ultimately matter. What's important is that I think she's great for these health pools, right? These like slightly bigger than small health pools, slightly larger than battlegrounds. Also remember, White Tiger has that signature ability that's going to kick in when one of the champions, I think, crosses the 15% threshold. Going to get that massive power gain. So you really have a nice benefit here where She-Hulk has that like invisible taunt because of all the traumas. Also, White Tiger's gaining the power because we're hitting her, so she's going to be throwing it. And this is the kind of thing like you want in War, right? I mean, you want this in Battlegrounds too if it's not an overly nuke meta. But in War or in super tough questing content, this sort of control over the fight almost can't be quantified, right? This is why we break down so many things on the tier list and give advice. And it's not just about damage, although She-Hulk's clearly showing she has plenty of damage. But the absolute control over that fight was, I mean, as good as it gets. We talk about power all the time on this channel. We talk about how if the champion's dealing with power, if they're controlling power, if they're gaining power, they've got my interest and they've got my attention. She-Hulk's definitely doing that. All right, we're very good and quickly going to talk about her signature ability. We'll talk about the quick relic. It's Hulk. Just use the Hulk relic. We don't need to spend a separate time on that. And we'll talk about some synergies, and then we'll place her initially on the tier list. Okay, just to answer it directly, does she need to be awakened? No. But if you did the quest and stuff, you just have her. Like I have a Sig 20. I'm very happy with that. And the signature ability is really good. It truly is. If you look at it, it feels very similar to the original She-Hulks, where there's a benefit against each class. The cool thing is these have all been updated to very much help mitigate what those classes are often trying to do in tough fights to you, right? So like you see Science, Mystic, Cosmic, Tech, and Mutant. She has anything against Skill. She's just not meant to fight Skill champions, right? But against Mutant, during the opponent's special, she's gaining this Bulwark passive because Mutants often have a lot of prowess. They're throwing big, heavy specials. Maybe you can't dex them. This way you can block it. It's going to minimize that. Tech, while below a bar power shield, gains a combat power rate because there's a chance they're controlling your power. They're reducing your combat power rate. Maybe they even spec into Collar Tech because it's PvP. Cosmic, this is something that's happening with champions, a lot of buffs. Mystic, you get this. You can obviously read and see this. This is really nice. Will I be putting a bunch of 6 zones into it? As of right now, absolutely no, I won't be, but I'm really happy I have it. And if that changes, you'll see me update that on a video, in streams, or of course on monthly updates to the tier list. Let's go ahead and check her synergies. All right, this first synergy is with regular She-Hulk. I mean, this is really nice, but again, you didn't see me having too much trouble stacking the trauma, but if you really want to get that damage going even faster, punishing the opponent's special with the heavy sounds really good. And regular She-Hulk is good, right? But I don't know. I just don't see this one being coming in too much until regular She-Hulk gets a buff. Come on, can we have them? Let's get that rework going for her. She could use a little love. And then also, you know, you're using them both in Quest for some reason, right? The other one here is this one with Deathless Vision. I actually really like this one. Increase the ability accuracy of personal trauma effects by 2% flat. Doesn't sound like a ton. I get it, but I've done the full video on the full Deathless team. I will link that at the end of this one and also in the description. You want to check that out because that team's really great. But the dev called this out here. Note that this flat increase also increases the minimum chance for trauma up to 20% with the full Deathless team. I didn't say it yet. It's a good time to do it. The chance per to land your trauma actually goes down as you land them. The cool thing is they become more potent. It cannot go below a 10% chance to land those traumas. Well, this increases that bottom line to 20%. So that's pretty cool with that full Deathless team. And then there's this last one here. It's now with Deathless Thanos. They just haven't had a chance to update it, it looks like. But I really do like this one. She-Hulk, she just has a very aggressive playstyle. I think that helps keeping the AI aggressive as well, too. So you find yourself wanting to intercept. She has a really nice medium and light intercept as well, in my opinion. So I find myself doing it quite a bit with Deathless Thanos. And this is a great synergy for Deathless Thanos as well. But on the She-Hulk side, intercepting the opponent inflicts a personal trauma debuff, which is obviously the big source of her damage. So that's really awesome. And in case you missed it earlier, the Relic, you definitely want to have the Hulk Relic. All right, and then here she is on the initial entry into the tier list. Remember, this is without the Illuminati having taken a look or anything like that. Of course, that will be how we'll do that when we do the update in January. And then every single month as we update these champions, we find out more about them, how they're used, how metas are developing, new defenders, that sort of thing. But this felt great to me. As always, I do the scores, and then I just see where they end up. If something seems oddly off, I'll go back and really look at the scores I gave. But her flow is very, very good. In fact, she's kind of creating flow, which is, I love that. She's dealing with power. So her meta relevance I can't see it not being high because she deals with power so well. The only way she'll start to fall out of the meta, in my opinion, is if somehow there's just power creep where her damage capabilities aren't good enough. But you saw, the gal's got damage. That is not a problem at all. She even has off the SP1, we didn't even get a chance to talk about it because her fights go so fast. She has a Spectre, which basically is helping you out with healing. And then if you spec into Despair, she's going to help handle that, including the opponent's willpower as well, too. So all those debuffs in PvP modes, you don't need to be very worried about it at all. Plus, she's hitting so damn hard. Her war score, she got a very good war score. She's got a poison immunity, and then the ability to handle power, then the ability to handle healing, at least lightly. And then, of course, the ability to ramp up massively if you spec into Inequity. And when I did make mistakes or take hits or something like that, she survived them very, very well. So it makes her insanely tanky. So I feel like there's going to be tons of uses for her in war. You're like, okay, so why is she not the tier above all? Well, she does ramp a little bit, right? Like some of those fights were eye-popping, were very, very fast. But it's not like we were beating up Photon or Bullseye. I tested her against Onslaught, and it was really interesting because you actually have a ton of control over the fight, which was a lot of fun. You could really predict, okay, Onslaught's going to throw a special one. But what happened is Onslaught threw like 6 special ones while we were ramping. So I never felt like I didn't have control over the fight, but what I did feel was that the fight took a minute. Which probably isn't going to be the best for Battlegrounds or those sorts of things. So I think she's going to be a perfect like 6. We'll see. Maybe the Illuminati will disagree and they'll say like, hey, no, she should be higher up. But I think she's going to be like a perfect 6, where it's one of those champions where if you want to use her in Battlegrounds because she's really fun and she is a good champion, you're probably be able to go put her in your deck, take her to high rank, and do some really cool stuff with her because you're going to know how to set her up as far as the draft and the bans are concerned. But is she someone that I can say is like one of the single best Battlegrounds champions in the science class? No, I don't think so. So if you remove Battlegrounds from this tier list, which you know you can, she's actually going to go up in rankings because that was her lowest score. As usual, let me know what you think you got right. Let me know what you think you got wrong. Make sure you turn every single month to the tier list, the Battlegrounds tier list, the whole thing, because we will constantly be updating these scores. It's what we've been doing for almost 50 tier lists now. As usual, let me know what you think you got right. Let me know what you think you got wrong. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.